Hi, sir, and thank you for joining me tonight. I'm joined as well by Lorne Armstrong. Good evening, Lorne.
Good evening.
Tonight, Lorne wants to open up about some things that happened in the past. Lorne granted an interview recently where he discussed some personal details about his life. However, he was not willing to talk about some details that are most pertinent, probably the ones that he's most well known for, due to the fact that there were some extenuating circumstances. So, Lorne, can you tell us why you're willing to talk about some more personal details tonight?
Because my appeal got denied in the court, and I figured if that got denied in the court, then I might as well let the public hear about it and let the public make their own decisions.
So, in other words, are you saying that you're done with these lawsuits?
Yes.
All right. So, no more lawsuits.
Unless somebody decides to mess with me.
Okay. But the lawsuits against NBC, everything else, those are done.
Those are done.
Okay. I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed to hear that because they enjoyed reading your lawsuits, because that was an incredibly uphill battle, it sounded like, for you, taking on a giant like NBC. So we're glad to hear that.
If I would have had a lawyer, then NBC would not have won. So I just want to let people know that.
All right. Well,
there's a difference between having a lawyer and not having a lawyer.
Despite all that, the lawsuits, the lawsuits, as they're sometimes referred to, are over, and you're starting out fresh as a non-litigious Lorne Armstrong.
Right.
All right. So, the purpose of the conversation tonight that I wanted to get to the bottom of is I wanted to talk to you about then sort of the contents of your conversation that you had in Nashville. You know why you're well known, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how would you sum it up? Why are you so well known?
Because it's a sketch predator show.
All right. So tonight, as long as you're comfortable with it, I want to talk to you about how you ended up on that show. You're okay with that?
Yeah. I'm okay with it as far as my answers can go.
Okay.
That's the only way I can put it.
And, I want to let you know, your honesty is appreciated. I know that there's a lot of people out there who think that you want to blame everybody but yourself. If I feel like the conversation's headed in that direction, I'm going to make sure that the focus stays on you. I don't want it to be implied that I'm taking it easy on you or that, you're trying to place blame elsewhere. I want this to come honestly from you. So you're willing to do that? You're willing to speak honestly and openly?
I'm very willing to do that. I just want you to be hard on me. I don't want you to think that you have to be easy.
All right.
I want these people to know the exact truth.
Okay.
I will not answer anything with a lie. Period.
I'll be hard on you then. So I want to talk about the time leading up to, your arrival in Nashville. And I feel like we can't do that without talking about Betty OK, Durango Mango.
Okay.
And, a lot of people out there have accused you of running away with money, you took advantage of this elderly couple, their life savings, and you took off with it. So, in your own words, from your own perspective, I sort of want to hear, what your involvement in that whole situation was.
Okay. To explain it the best that I can, is I got used very badly by people I trusted. I take full responsibility for Betty's money because it was my responsibility when I took the money from her.
Right.
When she handed me the money, it was my responsibility to treat that money right and make sure it went to where it went to.
Which was upgrading their house, fixing their house, expanding their house.
Right. Right. In this class that I'm taking, it's taken a while to figure out what my problem was at the time. And my problem we finally figured out that my problem at the time was that I couldn't say the word no.
Okay.
Anybody that needed help, I couldn't say the word no. And unfortunately, it was with Betty's money that's where that help came from.
So how'd you feel about that? I mean, so I don't mean to cut you off, but you leave Maine with this, the deposit retainer, whatever you want to call it, from Betty, but you leave to start a new life in Nashville with that money. I mean, what's going through your head at that point?
I felt like shit, literally. I literally felt like shit because I knew I had her money, but the only thing that I could think was, in order to get people to stop using me, I had to leave. And so I sold my house for $8,000 after I had over $60,000 into it, and got rid of a lot of things, basically for free. And took my dog and loaded as much stuff in my truck as I could, and I went down to Nashville.
Right.
And I figured once I got a job down there, then I could start sending money back to Betty a little at a time.
Okay. That never happened, though. It still hasn't.
That never, obviously that never happened.
Yeah. This isn't, I don't want to make this about Betty. I just wanted to make sure that we sort of discussed that and, had at least some conversation around there. And I'm sure we could probably spend a whole, day talking about that and get Betty involved and do all that. But, that's not the purpose of this tonight. But, I appreciate you answering questions about that. You feel bad about it. You feel like someday there's some chance, there's some possibility that you will make this up to her?
I will definitely make it up to her. Okay. And I don't like the way that things are right now. I don't like still owing her money when I should have had her paid off a long time ago, had it not been for this thing, or for this thing that I got caught up in. And Betty is, she is a very awesome woman. She was so nice to me, and there's no way I can express how bad I feel about her.
Okay. All right. I don't want to, necessarily drag up bad feelings about that, but I feel like it needed to be addressed. Tell me about your time in Nashville, kind of leading up to everything. So, before you even talked to Kayla, what was your time like in Nashville? You show up there and, what's going on those first few weeks that you're there?
When I first got down there, I had called down to Nashville already to find an apartment, and I found one. And when I got down there, they told me that they didn't accept dogs. Mm-hmm. And the person that I had talked to before I went down there said they do accept cats. And so I couldn't stay there because I had Bud.
Right.
And I certainly wasn't going to give my dog away because I was really close to my dog. Bud wasn't still means everything to me.
Right. So you found Hickory Woods then eventually?
What's that?
You found Hickory Woods.
Yeah.
The place you were living.
Yeah. Yeah, I went looking around that day. Well, actually, I stayed in the hotel room for 2 nights before I wound up finding Hickory Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an apartment there. And once I got an apartment there, I found a job at a place that they make cold calls.
This is the
for concerts.
yeah.
They make cold calls for concerts, and they a percent. Well, it's actually supposed to be for the fire department. Well, they get a certain percentage for the fire department, and then a certain percentage has to go to everywhere else that it has to go to.
Right, like you. Yeah.
Right, for the people that do the cold calls and for the concerts and stuff like that. And then after that job there, well, I didn't like that job. And
did you
so
sell any tickets?
That job.
Did you sell any tickets?
I sold very few tickets.
Okay.
Because you have to actually believe in the place that you're working for, and before you can sell anything. The guy that was my boss dressed like a slob and looked like a slob, and just seeing that, I just couldn't believe in him.
Right.
So I just quit that job and I went and looked for another job, and that's when I got the job with the construction company, working at the church, building the church, and then that's when this thing happened.
Right. So leading up, yeah. So you're getting a little ahead because we're talking about, we're focusing a little on the conversations that you had in the meantime. So I feel like you moved to the city. So you lived in Alaska, you lived in Washington, you lived in Canyon, Maine. What was it like, sort of being in Nashville for the first time?
I absolutely loved Nashville. It was just perfect city.
And emotionally, how was it for you? You're showing up there, you're alone. How was that?
Emotionally, it was a different thing because it didn't. I didn't feel like I had my family's full support. I didn't feel like I had my friends' full support. I felt like to them it was a joke, and when it was something that I had always taken very seriously.
Right. And this is going there, you want to sing, you want to do that.
Right.
All right. So that kind of leads me into my next question, which is, you're on the internet that first night, the first night the chat begins. What were you doing on the internet that night?
I was in an adult chat room.
An adult chat room.
And yeah. And I just doing what any other person was doing in there, just chatting with people.
Okay. So an adult chat room, what's sort of is it highly sexualized? Is it, what's kind of the...
No. It's just a lot of different talk about different subjects, political, not political, sports, just a variety of different subjects. I can't remember exactly what I was involved in talking with it, or if I just watched in, or I can't remember exactly what was happening at the time. But
okay, I know it was a long time ago.
The normal room that I usually went in.
Okay. So you're in the adult chat room. Were you talking to anyone in particular?
No.
Okay.
So I think I had just gotten in there
that night.
That night before when I met her, quote unquote Kayla.
Right. And so were you and I have to ask this. I mean, were you in there looking? I mean, you're in an adult chat room. Okay, we established that. And this is gonna sound like a funny. This is gonna sound like a funny question, given that. But I mean, were you looking for underage chat partners specifically?
Well, like you said, it kind of answers its own question.
I know, but I had to ask because that's and we've heard it. We've heard it on the show before. You know, they were in a gay chat room or they were in an adult chat room or blah blah blah. So. All right, I just had to ask it. So you weren't in there trolling for underage girls in an adult chat room.
No. If I was trolling for an underage girl, I wouldn't have been in an adult chat room.
All right. So what? And that's kind of implied in the chat log too, because you say, oh, people talk about this and here and that and stuff, and so I think that's kind of implied that you were in an adult chat room. So that's not, that's just that.
Right.
That's honest. You weren't looking for underage kids. Obviously, you're in an adult chat room. There's another decoy too that got brought up. Disney Girl. Do you have any recollection of that? Somebody named Disney?
I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue who Disney Girl is.
All right. I mean, is that new to you? Am I bringing up something new, or is that?
That's very new to me because I never even heard of her.
So perverted justice implies in the blurb where they talk about, and there's no, as far as I know, there's no chat log to confirm, but they say that you chatted with another perverted justice decoy whose screen name had something to do with Disney Girl. So.
Right, because I've never heard of Disney Girl.
All right, so I don't. That's I'm bringing it up because it's it's part of the
perverted justice setup.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that.
That's why you're bringing it up, because of perverted justice setup.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me?
I'm asking you, brother.
So part of the little blurb that they give about Lorne Armstrong on the perverted justice site says that you chatted with another underage decoy. Obviously not to the extent, and obviously didn't show up to meet them or do anything else. But it is implied that you talked to another underage decoy at some point, and there's no extrapolation. There's no more information available beyond the fact that it occurred, as far as I know. Maybe someone will correct us, but
let me state right now to everyone about perverted justice. Perverted justice got paid $100,000 for every show. They were paid to lure people in. Now they're on the hot seat, and they're going to make up anything that they possibly can. They made up this Disney Girl, because I never spoke to any Disney Girl. I don't know of any. When you mentioned to me, that's the first I've heard of any Disney Girl.
Okay.
Xavier Von Erck has some serious issues, and I'll bring a lot more to light later on about perverted justice and Xavier Von Erck, a.k.a. Philip Eade.
You're always promising later on. That's fine, and we know that
later on because I can deliver.
No, I know, and to your credit. And this is not, coming to the defense of pedophiles or doing anything else, but,
But wait a minute. If you want it now, I can dig it right out.
No, this is not about that. This is not about exposing perverted justice. This is about you. I don't want it to take that course. But to your credit, what I'll say is Bowling Green was the final. It was the last, To Catch a Predator in the series, and they lured you and I think 6 other people to the Sting house. And maybe they were getting a little desperate at that point. Maybe at that point people had caught on, they were being more careful, and they had to resort to more desperate tactics. I don't know, or sensationalize it a little bit more. It's been implied, and I'll give a little credit to that. So, maybe they did, add in some details to spice things up.
Some.
But some.
I had a question mark on that one. Some.
All right. Well, we'll blow the roof off of Perverted Justice sometime down the road. It sounds like. So what drew you So you initiate this conversation with Kayla. What kind of drew you into that? To begin with, what was your kind of intention there?
My initial intention was just to be nice to her,
right?
Because nobody else in the chat room would talk to her, and I felt bad for her, and I just wanted to give her someone to talk to.
Right. Okay.
And that's all there was to that.
So, the chat log turns sexual fairly quickly. I mean, sex comes up, semi-naturally just because she's in an adult chat room. Have you heard this? Have you heard that? But it turns sexual pretty quickly. What's your explanation for that? You brought sex into the equation. What was the purpose there?
Okay. As far as me bringing sexual stuff into the equation fairly quickly, I really didn't bring it into it very quickly because I never even wanted to mention it, and that was never my goal. My goal was honestly just to be a friend to her, but at the time, I couldn't think straight about anything that I was doing. And once she started talking to me and letting me spill out my stuff, that it gave me someone to talk to, and I don't really know how to explain that.
Okay.
It gave me somebody to talk to, and I lost track of who I was talking to.
Were you having trouble talking to people that were your own age?
I was having trouble talking to anybody, period.
Okay.
Literally.
Because, and this is maybe not the initial thing, but, I mean, it's something like 40 minutes in, you ended up exposing yourself on webcam. And it's a 13-year-old. What's going through your head when you're doing that? What are you thinking about?
I can look at the chat log again because I don't think it was 40 minutes in because it seems like it was over a couple of days.
I think it was the first night. And I think it was within that first 40 minutes. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you the information that's out there. Maybe it's 2 days later. Maybe it's not. What happened at some point? So, I guess kind of.
See, my problem is I don't want to lie because it's almost 10 years ago. It's almost 10 years ago that it happened.
Yeah.
But
I don't want you to lie. The last thing I want you to do is lie. But if you have trouble recalling things, that's okay. And you're right. It is over 10 years ago. A lot's happened in between now and then. Remembering what happened in an exact minute or how many minutes it took for something to happen, I get that. But
well, that's the thing is, I have a hard time recalling that stuff because it's been 10 years ago, and I don't want to lie to people.
I know,
but it doesn't seem to, from what I can remember, it seems like it was over a couple of days. It didn't seem like it was that same day.
Okay, we can leave it at that. That's the way it's presented.
No, we'll come back to it because I know people want to know the stuff, and I don't want to be dishonest to anybody.
Yeah, no, and I know you don't. So I can tell you don't.
I need a chance to look at the thing to remember that it was. I need a chance to look at the transcript to remember that the time and what I was saying at the time, so I can try to remember, what was going on exactly at the time. That I don't know. The timing has everything to do with it. It doesn't seem like it was that first day that I did that.
Okay. I'll leave it there. Another thing, and these are kind of consecutive questions that have to do with the same thing, but in your conversations with her, and because we as Lornographers and we as people who have studied the chat log and who have gone through it, she responded with yeah, okay, cool, to a lot of your sexual advances. So you're talking about touching and penises and doing stuff like that, and that yeah, okay, cool. She wasn't necessarily engaged, is what people, have done analysis on and other things. Like, did you pick up on that at the time?
No. I didn't, because all I cared about was making her happy.
Okay.
Giving her what I thought she wanted.
So there's Yeke goals. And, you mentioned this specifically in your lawsuit, is that you explain how she used female powers. And a lot of people have talked about her using her female powers in sort of, a negative light against you. Like that's a moment of ridicule, would be like, how does somebody use their female powers? Or what was this girl Kayla using female powers? Like how can you explain that? Because that's more recent, at least. You must have a firmer grasp on that. Like, what were the female powers that she was using on you?
Oh, God, that one is a hard one.
I know it is, but Lorne, you just got to be honest.
Just because, well, it's hard just because I don't mean to. I don't even know how to put that.
You put it in your lawsuit. You could have been asked to explain it in court one day.
Well, back then I could have explained it.
No, we're not talking that long ago now.
It's been a while.
We're not talking that long ago.
10 years, it's quite a while.
All right, I'm going to edit this part out. And I'm going to give you a hint. But this is the part where you're lonely and she would talk to you and other people wouldn't, and you felt like that was an incentive for you to keep talking.
Okay, because you lost. You lost me on using female powers. I was like, "What the hell did I do to you?"
You use that in your lawsuit.
Yeah, but I can't remember what stuff that I put in my lawsuit, because I've had so many things since then.
Yeah.
As far as female powers go, she gave me somebody to talk to, because people had not talked to me at the time.
People of age, you're saying?
Yeah, my family, my friends. There's so many people that I needed to talk to me about things that was going on, and I had questions that I wanted answers of why. Of why did they keep coming to me?
Right.
Which I'm not going to go into detail on that, but I needed people to show me that they cared about me and not my wallet.
Okay. And you felt like you were getting that from her. And it seemed like you were honest with her, and I'll give you that. You were honest with her about your situation. You talked about sleeping on the floor and, not having money to do this and that, maybe not even having enough gas to get there. And, I think everyone kind of appreciates that honesty.
I'm going to let you and everybody know right now, I've never spent a dishonest day in my life. I can't lie. I don't lie. Even if I tried to lie, people would be able to see through it.
Well, people have said that of you before, that if you did an interview like this, all you were going to do is lie your way through it. I don't. Right, well, I'm not getting that impression right now, but
this is something you can tell the people.
Well, they're going to hear you saying it because this is being recorded. So,
all right. Well, if I was to lie, then when I had to start taking this class, I had to take a polygraph.
Mm-hmm.
In that polygraph, they asked me if I have ever solicited sex from a minor. My answer was no. I passed the polygraph. I just recently asked the counselor of this class, how do I obtain a copy of that polygraph so that I can show it to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
She told me that in order for me to obtain a copy of the polygraph, I would need a court order to obtain it.
Well, here's a question asked a little different way. Is Lorne, are you sexually attracted to underage girls?
Good God, no.
Good God, no. So I wish I had the polygraph strapped to you right now to hear that. No. You talked to one for a month.
Yes, I did.
So where does that leave us then? Where does that leave us if you're saying you're not sexually attracted to underage girls, but yet you spent a year, sorry, not a year, you spent a month.
A year?
You spent a year talking to one, maybe you would have come to your senses.
You mean a month?
A month. I meant a month. I apologize. You spent a month talking to what you thought was 13-year-old, just become a teenager. You're fully aware of that, correct? Like there's no discrepancy there. You never thought she was 18 or anything else.
No.
Yep.
I knew she was 13.
Right. So how do you explain that then? How do you explain that?
I thought she was 13.
What's that?
I thought she was 13.
Yes, you thought she was. So how do you explain that then? You're not sexually attracted to underage girls, but yet you talked to one for a month with the intention of having sex with her at some point. At least that's what the chat reflects. Because
she was listening to what I was saying. She was paying attention to me. She was letting me get out my problems, my feelings, and my thoughts, everything that was going on in my head. And the only where it led to sex is because the only way I thought that I could keep her there and listening to me, letting me let out my problems, was to keep talking about sex.
Okay. Did you know what you were doing was wrong?
At first I did, and then I just completely lost all thought of it and couldn't think. All I thought was, I'm starting to care about this girl.
Right.
And I've completely lost all thought of her age.
You were still worried about it. I mean, you talk about being worried about where you're going to park, whether. Yeah.
I was worried about it because it would once I started in again, I would think about it again.
Right.
But then once I started talking to her again, I'd lose all track of it. But then it was still in the back of my mind, and it would keep coming up. And I was completely lost at what I was doing. Even though I knew what I was doing was wrong, I couldn't stop myself from not doing the wrong thing.
Right. Okay. I mean, so every night you end these chats at some point, late at night, what do you think about when you stop chatting for the night? Like, you went to bed, you're not on chat anymore, you're going to sleep. What was going through your head?
Going to the bar.
Okay.
Seriously. That was my only thought, was going to the karaoke bar.
Is that what you did a lot of the nights when you got off chat?
That's what I did every night.
Okay.
And I tried to stop chatting sooner so I could go to the karaoke bar.
Okay. seems like you were counting down the days, and you go through that. I'm going to see you in 13 days, 14 days. Did you have any apprehensions about meeting this person, despite the fact that you seemed really excited about meeting this girl?
I had a lot of effort, and I didn't want to go.
You never even meant to do it, is what you're saying?
Huh?
You never even meant to do it?
Yeah, well, what people are getting a big kick out of is I never meant to do it. Well, point blank, I never freaking meant to do it. How hard is that to explain?
Kind of hard if you've, spent a month chatting to somebody and it's highly sexualized and you're, seem excited about the prospect of meeting them in person. It's a little hard to explain, but...
Okay, it's
open.
Not hard to explain. It is not hard to explain at all.
Okay.
I had gotten used for 4 years by people I trusted and idolized. After that long of a time, you wind up thinking, does anybody even care about me?
Okay.
That's where that led to. That's why once I started talking to her, I felt like somebody cared about me, and I didn't want to lose it.
Okay.
That's the only reason I kept talking to her. And that's the only reason that I even went to the house. I didn't want to go to the house still, even when I went to the house. Even when I was halfway at the house, I wanted to turn around at the closest exit that I could find. But the closest exit that I could find happened to be that exit. In between, I had thought about driving in the middle, the median, but it was deep grass down there, and I didn't know what was down there. So I was like, well, frig, I'm gonna screw up my truck if I drive down something I can't see what's down there. So I kept going. That's how I'll just turn around the next exit. Well, lo and behold, next exit was that exit that she told me to get off on.
So I actually had that question
said,
lined up.
I'm here. I'll just go right to the house. Then when I got there, I didn't want to be there. So I went around. I went past the house, went back, and went around the rotary. I stopped because I didn't want to go there.
Yeah, there does seem to be, in the new footage, there does seem to be some, and I don't want to get into the new footage because I understand that you want to do a commentary with another lornographer, with another individual about the actual thing. So I don't want to go there, but there does seem to be, some indication that you drove past the house a few times and Casey Moreau, the decoy, was waving you in.
She was jumping and waving. They were very desperate to get me there. They wanted another body for their show. They didn't have enough.
Yeah. Well, it's not to say that you didn't spend a month chatting to somebody. And so maybe there's a little bit more light shed on this. This is somebody who wanted to talk to you. I'm not going to summarize everything. I think people have heard enough.
I'm not going to tell people that I wasn't wrong in things that I said and did. I was very wrong in things that I said and did.
Maybe
what wasn't right is because I never wanted to go there to begin with.
Yeah,
that's what I'm mad about. That's what I've been fighting about. I never wanted to go there to begin with, and they knew. And they took a person that was vulnerable and talked him into going to a place he didn't want to go to, just so they can make more money and more ratings for their show that they so extremely failed on the previous show where the prosecutor committed suicide.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that they specifically targeted you because they thought that you were vulnerable, or I don't think necessarily that your chat I mean, the reason we're having this discussion today, if it was very obvious that you were vulnerable from the chat, we wouldn't be having this discussion today. You wouldn't be having to defend your actions. And I don't think they necessarily knew that. They didn't target you specifically because you were vulnerable. You just happened to be.
I happened to start talking to her.
Right.
I happened to start talking to her to try to be a nice guy. They targeted everything that they could possibly target. When they were making $100,000 per show, they would have targeted the President of the United States if they could have.
They probably would have loved that, actually.
All they saw was money.
But
$100,000 is a lot to a person.
I know. But on the flip side of that, you've got people like me conducting this interview with you, and the people who are listening to it, probably the vast majority of them, maybe some of them not, depending on who it is. Probably somebody would have started talking to them and said, I'm 13 years old. And they would have said, okay, it was nice talking to you, but, you know, I'm in an adult chat room looking for another adult. Oh, you know, good luck.
Right, and that's what I should have done.
Right.
But what I did was I felt sorry because nobody else would talk to someone, to a 13-year-old. I felt sorry for her, and I didn't. I guess you just have to know me because I feel sorry for people.
No, I hear you. I don't want to harp on anything, you know. And I appreciate you talking about this. I know this probably wasn't easy, but you know, I appreciate you taking the time to sort of walk us through it. You know, I hope that people who listen take it for what it is, and that they appreciate, you know, that you were honest. And that's
it's hard for me because for the people that don't know me in real life and haven't been around me my whole life, don't know me to be like that. All they see is what NBC showed them, and they still have that. After all these years, they still have that picture painted in their mind of just what NBC showed them.
Right.
Even though I've let out what actually happened with the DVD that I have of what's even edited, because NBC edited it before they even gave it to the prosecutor. They still have that image of what NBC showed on television.
Yeah. And that's for next time.
Yeah.
That's for the next.
But for the person that I'm actually they don't know all that, and that's what really bothers me.
I think tonight you've given us a lot of insight into, you know, your perspective on the whole thing, you know, where your head was. You know, maybe there's a lot of questions still unanswered. You know, I know that you're in an RSO class right now. As the RSO classes, do you feel like they've helped? I mean, before I even get into that, are you a threat to reoffend?
Not even close.
Okay. Because I think that's what a lot of people worry about is, you know, there's been a lot of people featured on this show, and I honestly believe some of them.
It bothers me that anybody would ever even think about that.
Well,
because
why wouldn't they? I mean, if you did it one time, you know, what's this? And you got caught.
And I understand everything of why they wouldn't be bothered by it. But it bothers me because I know the type of person that I am, and I know what was going on there, and I know what I didn't want to do. And I also know what had happened to me all them years that led up to me going there.
Yeah. I mean, there's people who would say...
Before I went there, before I went there, I sold my house for $8,000 after having over $60,000 into it.
You said that earlier. I know. Yeah, I know that there were some extenuating circumstances and everything else, but it's just tough to say for everyday people who weren't in those situations to say that you had a month of dialogue with somebody you thought was 13 and then showed up to meet them with the intention of sex, and there's no getting around that in your chat log. I mean, it is just it's riddled with penis talk and sex talk and everything else. I mean, it's all there. So, regardless of where you were at that time, I think, what people need to think about is, where are you now? I mean, if you were to get off the RSO, if you were to do something else, I mean, would you be the type of person to be like, oh, good, this is my opportunity to go back and do it again? And, it's like saying, that's a tough question, because nobody who's going to do something again is going to say, oh, I won't do it again. I never meant to do it in the first place. But
let me ask you, do you think I'm the type of person that would go back and do it again? Me
personally?
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten to know you, and obviously, people know that we've talked previously and stuff. And one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with you, and we didn't rehearse this, I didn't tell you what I was going to ask you beforehand. I wanted to have this conversation with you because I want these answers, because I want to know, is the person that I'm talking to capable of doing these things? So
I'm asking you, do you think that I'm the type of person that's capable of doing something like that?
I don't think you have the propensity to reoffend. Me personally, Ethan Griswold, no, I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you, from what you do know from before.
You fucking interviewing me now? Don't laugh.
I'm just asking so I can see what type of person you think I am.
Okay.
Or what type of person you think I was before.
Okay.
So from what you know before, about me before, do you think I was the type of person to do it before with the exclusion of the chat log?
With the exclusion of the chat log? Like, if that had never happened, would you have just gone out and, fuck some kid?
Right.
No. I don't think you would have done that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Keep
That's a good fucking question.
I never was and I never will be.
You should be the interviewer. That's actually not a bad question. You're right.
I'm putting to you. I'm giving it to you like it is, like I am. It's not me. I'm not that type of person. I never was that type of person. I had some major issues at the time.
Right.
And all I was looking for was somebody to listen to me, somebody to talk to me, somebody that showed that they cared about me.
But then, and here's the real question too, is Chris Hansen's not there, camera crew's not there, it's just you and that girl. What would have happened?
I never would have been able to do anything.
You asked her for a kiss?
I meant on the cheek, but I never said anything after that because I knew what it would turn out to be. So
then you're keeping yourself out of trouble. Then you're keeping yourself out of trouble because you knew it was going to turn out to be. But
no,
you spent a month talking about sex with this person, and you show up there.
I know. I'm not going to play off like I don't know what it didn't sound like. I know what was in my head. And you want me to be honest, and I'm being honest. But I'm not, I'm not going to play off like I don't know what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I know what it sounded like. But I'm also going to say what was in my head. I meant a kiss on the cheek. But I know what NBC was going to play it off as. I'm not stupid. NBC was going to play it off to be as much as what they could possibly play it off as. So all I could do is just shut my mouth and go with what NBC was going to fucking do.
Yeah.
Because all NBC was after was ratings and money. They didn't give a shit about anybody's lives.
But that doesn't have anything to do with your intentions, though. That doesn't have anything to do with you. That has to do with them, and it's this situation
right.
They put you in. I get that.
Well, it has to do with my intentions, because my intentions was not a kiss on the lips. My intentions was not making out. my intention was literally a kiss on the cheek, but I knew nobody was going to believe that. So
But
I
your
didn't say anything.
intentions leading up to that night in the chat were penises and vaginas and all kinds of stuff.
I know. Well, no.
So what I'm saying to you then is,
I'm not gonna say my intentions.
yeah. I mean, what? I mean,
My talk.
And you asked me before, if you exclude the chat and let's say even the phone calls, if you just like met some 13-year-old in the street, would you try to rape them or something like that?
Hell no.
No. Yeah, I don't think that.
Good God, no.
And
I get so quiet when I meet anybody in person. I have to talk to them over the phone for the first time.
Yeah, you seem. I mean, it's I don't want to bring my impressions too much into it.
There's a difference between talking over the phone and because you have a barrier between you.
Yeah.
But once you meet a person face to face, that barrier is gone.
Are you saying that the internet and real life are two different?
It's just the thing with that fucking kiss. I honestly meant a kiss on the cheek.
Yeah. I want you to pick that up. You and Sam are going to talk about that.
I didn't try to fight anything.
You and Sam are going to talk about that. I have one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay. And it's about the you've talked about missing pages from the chat log. We're talking about the chat log tonight. Do you think that you said there's supposed to be a certain number of pages, there were other pages. Do you think there's actually content missing, or just the pages were edited to be different sizes?
I think both.
Do you remember saying things that you think were not included in the chat log?
I remember saying things. I remember things being in there that I did not say. There's supposed to be 407 pages, and there's 249.
No, it's 407 pages. Depends on how it's edited or spaced or whatever. But you're saying
printed out. There's 249. There's some of those pages that are not full pages. Some of them are half pages, and some of them only have a couple of lines on them. There's supposed to be 407 pages. If it was just a few pages difference, I could understand that. When you go 149 pages that are not there, there's some major issues there.
But the point is, you talk about not remembering certain things that happened 10 years ago. But is there something in your mind that tells you do remember certain things that weren't included in the chat log? Because that's kind of hard to believe.
If I read through the chat log again, then yeah. Because I don't have everything right in my mind at the time. But if I was read through it again, then yeah.
So what do you think they excluded?
I know well, I can't tell you exactly because I'm not reading through the chat log right now.
Okay, so that's okay. Basically, I was saying if you sat there and said, no, I don't want to come. I don't want to come to the house. And that was included in these pages that aren't there, I would have a hard time believing that because suddenly you're recalling something that you said that, you couldn't recall why you did other things.
Well, see, I did tell him I was straight that I didn't want to go several different times.
And that's not in the chat log.
It's in the chat log.
No, there's nothing in the chat log that says you don't want to go.
There isn't. There's nothing in there that says that if I was to go there, that I'd wind up spending years in jail.
I don't think so. No.
There is. Well, in mine there is. In mine that I get from the prosecutor, there is. What the public has seen is a completely different thing.
Well, maybe that's a whole new bombshell for us. Maybe that's another, piece. Maybe that's something else that you need to release, that you need to send to Ember and get out there.
You've never seen anything like that?
I don't believe so. We'll have to check with Nathaniel.
Yeah,
he knows everything.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one to check with.
That's your buddy, man.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, I appreciate your feedback tonight, and I appreciate you, hanging in there with these questions. Really, my goal is to get to the bottom of some of this, and to get you your honest opinions and feedback and responses to some of these questions. So I appreciate you doing your best with that, Lorne, and I'm hoping that this conversation is meaningful both to you and to the people who listen to it. So I want to thank you for engaging this conversation with me tonight.
Okay, I have. You can edit this out. I have a question for you.
I'm not editing anything. Go on, ask me a question.
You're not in coherence with Nathaniel, are you?
Fuck no. What do I have to?
All right. Yeah, you told me you talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, wait a minute.
No, Lorne, I'm in coherence with you. I will edit this part out.
All right. I'm hoping you do, because I don't want.
No, I talked to him. I wouldn't look. Hey, if I was cohorts with him, or I wanted to do something bad to you, or I wanted to make you look bad, do you think I'd tell you I was talking to him? Like God Almighty, he.
Well, that's true, but you told me you talked to him. There's just dawned on me, what the fuck is Nathaniel been saying to him?
Here, wait. Let me let's record like a wrap up on this, and then I'm going to turn the recording off, and then we can start talking again. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, Lorne, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I know you sort of, bared your soul with a lot of this. You talked about a lot of things that were very uncomfortable. So I wanted to thank you. Also, is there anything that you want to say, before we wrap this recording up and post it on YouTube?
Just that I apologize to everybody for the mistakes that I made in my life.
You don't owe anyone an apology.
I do owe people an apology, because this is not how I want my life to turn out.
I know it isn't.
This was not the dream that I had when I was a kid. The dream that I had as a kid was what I went down to Nashville for. I didn't go down to Nashville to get on the internet and meet up with some fucking 13-year-old. I didn't want to be on NBC. I didn't even know who Chris Hansen was. He was offended by me not knowing him. And quite honestly, I would love to meet Chris Hansen in a boxing ring. And I would actually love for Xavier Varner to be there at the same time, and for Nathaniel to be there at the same time. That way I could whip all three of their asses at the same time and get it over with.
Well, that's not going to help your legal status, but I would like to see it.
Not going to help my legal status, but it'll help my frustration.
All right. Well, thank you, Lorne.
Bye.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as for everybody else in the world, I completely apologize for being caught up in the whole thing.
I'm sure you do. Well, thank you for being here tonight. And with your permission, I will post our conversation. And hopefully it will, bring some more exposure information to your already intriguing case.
Thank you too, Ethan.
All right. Have a good night, man.
You too.